I've actually got 54,286 miles, no gas and no oil. I've been reading online, a lot of people are having issues with rodents getting in the engine compartment or the motor compartment and chewing on wires. So I did some investigating and came up with this, what they call rodent sheriff. It's highly concentrated with peppermint oil, and I've sprayed that inside the motor compartment, hoping to keep the rodents out. And so far, I've been very lucky. Haven't had any issues with that. I've also added a few things to customize my Bolt. I've added the word electric on the front, and also under the hood, I got a big electric placed under there as well. I also added a pinstripe. It's a red fluorescent pinstripe. So at night, when the lights hit it from other cars and in the areas that you're traveling through, that red pinstripe just jumps out at you. And I wanted to make it stand out, and I think that does a pretty good job of it. There's the charging point. The vehicle has 3 charging levels. Level 1 is, and then level 2. And then when you're doing the level 3 charging, you move the flap down, and that allows you to do the level 3 charging. So at this point, Charles, I think this would be a good time to show the video that we talked about earlier. So if you could run the video, that'd be great. Hello? I just lost your video.
All right, hold on 1 second here, and I'll get that video queued up. Let's see. If you can see that page, just give me a thumbs up.
Yes, it's up.
Is there supposed to be sound?
It's just got music in the background.
Yeah, right now we're just playing some music. So it gives you an idea of what the inside of the car looks like and the batteries. It's interesting how the different cars arrange the batteries in slightly different ways to try to maximize the use of the space while you know, leaving room for passengers, but also trying to pack as many batteries as possible into the space. Let me go ahead and
All right.
here.
So for the past 3 years, I've been using level 1 charging, which has worked fine for me. My average commute per day is anywhere from 30 to 40 miles. And when I get home at night, I just plug it in and top it off. And in the morning when I get up, I've got a full battery. Level 1 charging provides 4 miles of range per hour. So it's a real slow charge, obviously. And Chevrolet actually recommends that you go to a level 2 charger is what they recommend. But for the past over 3 years, I've been doing fine with just a level 1. It's worked very well. If you go to a level 2 charger, that does give you 25 miles of range per hour. And I just recently purchased a level 2 charger, have not had it installed yet, but I plan to do that very soon. And the reason I did that, I wasn't real sure I was going to keep the car because the technology is changing so much, but I've actually fallen in love with the vehicle, and the new model, the 2020 model, hasn't really made that much change. The 2020 is rated for 250 miles, but that wasn't significant enough for me, and they didn't change the body style of the car at all. So mine looks just like a 2020. So I didn't have any reason to want to invest in the additional vehicle. Level 3 charging is, of course, the fast level, and that gives you 90 miles of range in 30 minutes. So if you're stopping to have lunch or having dinner somewhere and you have a fast level 3 charger, you get 90 miles of range in 30 minutes. And I've had, on occasion, I have done that. There's the charging station up in the northern part of Virginia. And when I was on a trip, I stopped, and it was at a Walmart, and it was the Electrify America charge stations. And I went into Walmart, got something to eat. And when I got through eating, I had tapped off my battery. So now we'll take a look at the inside of the vehicle. With the seats folded down, you've got a total of 56.6 cubic feet of storage with both seats folded down. It also has a security cover that is removable. So when you've got packages in the back, nobody's able to see what's back there. And this is removable, so you're storing items in the back, it doesn't get in the way. In addition to that, this floor will actually drop down. So if you've got a larger, taller package that needs to go in the back, it gives you plenty of space to store something that's larger back there. It's a 5-passenger vehicle, and the back seats do have 2 cup holders. You can fold them down individually, so you can actually carry 3 people, including the driver. Or if you need to have it for storage, you can do that. The driver's seat is 6-way adjustments, and the steering wheel is telescoping, so you can get lots of adjustment on that. And I asked the engineers why they didn't offer a power seat. And the reason being, they were trying to cut down on as much weight as they could on the vehicle. So that eliminated the possibility of a power seat because of the weight involved. And the same reason for a sunroof. A sunroof is very heavy, and that would add extra weight to the car. They shied away from doing that. The screen is very easy to read. You've got showing you how much your range is that's available on the battery at all times. And something that I use a lot when I'm traveling is the Waze app. And with the Apple CarPlay, that shows right up on the 10.2-inch screen. That is a touch screen, and it is adjustable. You can do different. You can also look at the battery on that as well, showing you the battery and how much range you've got left in the battery and that kind of thing. And another feature that I enjoy when I'm traveling with the Chevrolet app, it will actually show you where the charging stations are. So you can find a charging station and we show you all of them or just the fast stations. Another feature that I really enjoy, when you put the car in reverse, it actually has what they call the bird's eye view. So you can see everything that's around you, and it makes it very easy parking the vehicle. And another feature that I like, if you've got packages in the back, or if the car is full of passengers, you're not able to see through the rearview mirror. It blocks the rearview mirror. So when you move the mirror down, trying to do everything here, move the mirror down, you see what's behind your car. It's behind the vehicle. I find that very useful. It does have the forward collision alert and also the pedestrian alert. With the pedestrian alert, it will actually stop the car before you actually hit somebody. It will apply the brake. It's an auto stop feature. It's got the blind side alerts and lane departure warning and forward collision alert. And that pretty much is everything that I've been wanting to show you. Anyone have any questions about any of the features?
Hey, I don't know if you mentioned this already, Walt.
I just lost your audio.
Did you, Walt, touch on the paddle?
Oh, the one, yeah. So you can use the low range when you're driving. And when you put it in low, that's gives you the regenerative braking and the regenerative power that is put to the battery. And when you use it in the low range, and you could actually stop the car in low range. You don't have to. That's why they call it one pedal driving. You can pull up to a traffic light without even touching the brake, and you can stop. And it puts more power into the battery, regenerative braking.
I'm curious if it took a while to get used to that, because I remember when I test drove a Bolt a few years ago. The idea of putting my hand on this paddle on the steering wheel to adjust the braking. So I'm curious to know, since you've driven the car for a while, does it take a while to get used to doing that versus like putting your foot on the brake?
It does. It does take a little getting used to, and it feels a little awkward at first, but it doesn't take long. It's very convenient, actually.
Have you found, in terms of your experience with the range, a lot of variance with that? In other words, there's sometimes where you get really, really good range, other times it's not so good, and if so, like what were the variables involved?
I haven't had any issues with range whatsoever. I've always kept an eye on my range and been able to make sure I don't run out, obviously.
When do you normally have like really, really, like what days do you normally have like better range than when you expected?
Well,
what impacted that, and what are some times where maybe you were expecting better range and it didn't turn out so well? Like what were what were the differences?
Well, I really haven't had any issues whatsoever with that.
Okay.
I've been very fortunate.
Tight range. Okay. Cool.
So I keep a close track on the battery and make sure that I've got plenty of range when I'm driving the car. And by topping off each night, I don't have to be concerned. I always wake up every morning with a full battery.
Gotcha. Because I was asking because I know that like in the winter time, and we were lucky this past winter was fairly mild. There was a couple of cold days in there, but on colder days, it can sometimes you can take a hit to your range. So
Right. Well, my average, like I said earlier, my average commute is only 30 or 40 miles a day, so I'm well within that range.
I got you. That's a good point because when you have a car like the Bolt that has a 200 plus miles of range, if there's a there's a little bit, if there's less of that available because of the weather, it may not matter because number one, you have over 200 miles of range, but also you have a very short commute. That's the same thing even with me. I have a Nissan Leaf and my car only gets 84 miles on a full charge. And sometimes in the wintertime, that can go down maybe 60 or 70, but I only drive about 20, 30 miles a day. So it doesn't, so yes, it does reduce range, but for the commute that I have, it doesn't matter. So sometimes you read a lot about, cold weather is terrible for EVs and you don't want to buy an EV because of that. But, it really, depending on what your driving habits are, it may not matter. So I just wanted to make that point.
And this is my main driver. I don't drive another vehicle. So this is my everyday car, as witnessed by all the miles that I've got on it.
Gotcha. So the other folks, I know we have a couple of other people on the call. Does anybody have any questions about the Bolt or curiosities or wonderings about it? John, I think you're muted. John, you're still muted. Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can unmute you. To unmute you. Unmute audio. Yeah, for some reason, John, I think you're muted and I can't unmute you. So I'm not sure why that is. Let me try one more time here to unmute. Yeah, for some reason, John, your audio is muted. I don't know if your audio got cut off for some reason, but we're definitely not hearing you. Paul, did you have any questions?
No question, just a comment. I had no idea it was such a cool car, Walt. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I had no idea the range was that good and that you're delighted with it after 50,000 miles. That's great.
Let me very quickly tell my other group, because they've just unmuted me after his presentation, that I'm here with the CCL. Hey, Charles, I'm involved with the CCL conversation for just a few minutes.
Okay, that's fine. All right, I just want to make sure you weren't trying to. I know it looked like you were saying tonight. I want to make sure.
He's an advocate as well.
Okay.
The leader of our group. Uh-oh.
So let's see. I'm trying to think about our things to think about the Bolt. So one of the things I was thinking about with the Bolt is comparing it to like the Leaf. It's very similar in size, and yet it seems small from the outside, but actually it's very spacious on the inside.
Yes.
So I was curious if that has been your case and comments you've gotten from people getting into the car in terms of like space in the back, headroom, that sort of thing.
Right. A number of occasions I've had the car filled up with 3 in the back and a total of 5 people altogether. And we haven't taken any long trips that way, but just driving around town, it's fine.
Hey, Walt.
Yes.
As far as when you were trying to sell the cars, did you find that to be a drawback, that people thought it was a much smaller car than it really actually is?
No, that really hasn't been an issue. The only issues that I've had is people just not being real attuned to the technology and willing to take the chance with an electric vehicle. So it was still a learning stage for most people.
Got it.
That's actually a good point. I'm curious, so because you have a unique perspective on this, Walt, because you're not only an EV owner, but you sold EVs. What's the most common questions you got from people? Like as you're talking to them about the car, or what some unusual questions too?
Well, I found that by owning one, I was able to talk to people a lot more directly and help them to understand the technology. I was fortunate enough to sell quite a few of the Bolts. And I had one client that loved his so much they came back and bought a second one. So that individual bought 2 of them from me.
Great. What's the most if you think back when those Bolts that you sold, what were the most sort of, I don't want to say dumb question because there's no such thing as a dumb question, but sort of unusual kind of question that you thought, oh, I never thought about that before.
No, I don't think they had any. A number of people that would come in, they'd had already done some research, and sometimes they had some misconceptions that I had to clear up and show them what the correct answer was for a particular issue.
What's if you can think of the I guess one or two of the most common sort of myths or misperceptions that you had to correct? What do you?
I would say the range anxiety is probably the biggest one. And when I was able to illustrate and prove to them that the range was not an issue with this car, that no longer became an issue.
Good point. It's interesting because when you read about how EVs are sold, the comments are often made that it's new technology, it's more complicated, and so it takes a lot of time to sell that kind of car versus a regular car. And I'm curious, I mean, because you've sold both EVs and non-EVs, did you find that it took more time to sell them, or just the same amount of time? Just there's really no difference.
Well, usually it takes a little longer. A little bit of an education curve that you're involved with. And there again, depends on how much research the customer has done before they get to me. Most of them had some research and were able to rely on that, but others did require a little clarification.